Something startling occurred when this police officer pulled over a vehicle and the driver rolled down her window. A few hours later, two people's lives were irrevocably altered by something even more incredible. Clark reapplied to the police academy after graduating from high school, since he had always liked the police profession and his application was accepted. He eventually earned an honors degree and was hired as a fresh recruit. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. Clark's resolve to keep going was strengthened by the comfort he had from knowing that he was doing morally. In addition, he was glad of his job's constant distraction, which meant he wouldn't have much time to think about his personal life. Clark was attractive and had a promising job, but he had given up on relationships since he was never lucky with them. He had no idea that fate had other intentions for him. Clark was given the task of monitoring a nearby freeway 2 years after he began working. Every day seemed to be the same when he went to work. His workdays were normally lengthy and fairly boring, but on one very long and sweltering Friday afternoon, something frightful occurred. Clark was waiting in his automobile that day, looking for those who were breaking the law. Abruptly, a little vehicle darted by him, setting off his police car's speed radar. Swiftly responding, Clark turned on the sirens and sped up, chasing after the vehicle. He easily caught up to the automobile, the sirens wailing into the air, but the driver persisted. He picked up even more speed, and in a skillful move, he parked his car in the center of the lane, bringing the other automobile to a sudden stop. Clark got out of his car, put his hand on his police-issued handgun, and walked up to the driver's window. He tapped on the glass, and when he received no reaction, he did it again, with more pressure. Then he attempted to peer through the window, but the tinted glass made it difficult for him to see anything. He lost patience and moved to the front of the vehicle, whereupon he noticed a woman driving through the glass. She nodded as he motioned for her to open the car right away. The woman's haggard face was visible through the slowly lowered glass as Clark made his way back to the driver's seat. With a kind greeting, Clark swept his sharp eyes over the car's interior in one quick motion. There was something strange about her attitude. She gave him a quick glance before turning away. She had beads of perspiration on her forehead and sunken cheeks. Her body seemed to shake as her fingers tightened their grasp on the driving wheel. Her body was covered with scratches and bruises, which Clark saw right away. Upon closer inspection, he rejected his suspicion that she may be intoxicated. Without any delay, he informed her of the reason behind his pullover and asked her why she hadn't stopped upon hearing the sirens. But she had nothing to say to him. Instead, she kept staring ahead, apologizing excessively, as if she was eager to get away. Clark then requested her license and registration. Without delay, she went inside the glove compartment and extracted it. She gave him the paper sheets, and he looked through them and saw that her name was Grace. He was aware that he needed to check her license in the database, but he couldn't get rid of the uneasy sense that she would push the pedal to the extreme and flee. Clark, who was still clutching her paperwork, demanded that she open the trunk so he could see inside, but she angrily refused. His suspicions were verified by this resistance. In order to demonstrate his sincerity, he reiterated his demand and put his hand on the butt of his revolver. After taking a long breath, the woman obeyed. The trunk opened, and Clark hurried to the back of the car. He quickly got his rifle and pointed it into the car as he peered inside. He was shocked to see a guy with a knife in his hand crouching within the trunk. As soon as the burglar saw that Clark was carrying a pistol, he raised his hands in surrender, and the officer told him to come outside. Grace collapsed at that point and began sobbing uncontrollably. She said that the man with the knife was abducting her. When Clark began after them, the man had fled swiftly into the trunk, threatening to murder her if she spoke again. Clark put the stalker in handcuffs and pushed him into the rear of the patrol car. Then, in order to examine Grace's injuries and see whether she was harmed further, he phoned for an ambulance. Grace informed him that she was recently ending an abusive relationship with her assailant while they waited for the paramedics to come. She'd tried to get away, but he persisted in following her and making death threats. Even after she obtained a restraining order against him, he continued his actions. He had been waiting for her at her house that fateful day, and as soon as she got back from work, he had ordered her into the car while brandishing a knife. Waves of the anguish she had experienced shook her body as she talked. Though he did his best, Clark was unable to provide her with much consolation. She was taken to the hospital by paramedics when the ambulance arrived shortly after. Clark drove the stalker to the precinct as soon as they left. As Clark continued to think about everything, Grace continued to consume his thoughts. He was constantly checking to see if she was okay and had left the hospital. He drove to the clinic to visit her as soon as his shift finished. She had not been hospitalized, but she remained at the hospital. She had decided to stay and have a few more rests before heading back home. With the exception of a few bruises, the physicians had detected nothing wrong with her, and they had given her an ointment to heal them. She happily accepted Clark's offer to drive her home as he was relieved that she was well enough to return home. The stalker required the officer's comforting presence, even though she had been arrested and was still incarcerated since she had not yet recovered from the horrific event. As Clark drove her home, they conversed extensively and got to know one another better. Grace welcomed him in for tea when they arrived at her home. Considering all he had done for her previously, it was the least she could do. It was becoming obvious to neither of them that something amazing was going to occur. Despite having only known Grace for a few hours, Clark discovered that he loved being with her after leaving her home. It seemed as though he had known her for ages. He was desperate to be in her life, to keep her safe and to give her the joy and contentment she deserved. Clark had never felt this way about a woman, so this was an odd experience. It was also shocking to him that he was falling deeply in love with a lady he had just met, as he had given up on love a long time ago. Even though Clark really wanted Grace, he was afraid to tell her so because of the pain from her past relationship. He decided to give her as much time as she needed to heal and simply be a good friend to her for the time being. After they had been dating for around 6 months, Clark summoned the confidence to ask her out. Grace was thrilled about it, much to his delight. She loved hanging out with him, and because they saw each other virtually every day, it seemed only fitting that they moved toward a serious relationship. It took only 3 dates for Clark to know for sure that Grace was his soulmate and that he would not be able to live without her. A year after they had begun dating formally, he proposed to her. He was ecstatic when she said yes. He pledged to always take the best possible care of her and treat her like the queen that she was. Clark had always wanted to be content and fulfilled in both his personal and professional life, and now he felt that way. He was aware that he would never have met his wife if it weren't for his work. Consequently, he made a self-promise to himself that he would always give his all at work and that he would never give up trying to serve and protect. What a lovely tale! If you had discovered a lady driving a fast automobile in the same condition as Grace, how would you have responded? Tell us in the comments section below. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you later. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.